Hello, YouTube. It is March 25th, 2016. Although by the time y'all see this, it'll be the following day because I'm actually recording this late at night. I just got finished looking over several news articles regarding a personal area to me. As y'all know, I'm a native of Fayetteville, North Carolina, or as we say here, Fed 9, aka 26, and you have to be native here to know that. But anyways, another thing, for my natives here, y'all know about the street, Murchison Road. Anybody native here, we pronounce it with the K as opposed to the H. Murchison, we pronounce it Murchison Road. Foreigners pronounce it Murchison. So, y'all know, being born and raised in Fayetteville, North Carolina, Murchison Road, I've never felt the need to hide my location because, honey, anybody wants to try with me, honey, come on ahead. I'm not one to be scared about anybody knowing my location. But we are now in an interesting dilemma. Murchison Road, or as I call it, Murchison Road, wants to undergo a name change and call it University Boulevard, due to the connection that the family of Murchison, and I'm saying Murchison because that's the actual family whose the name is supposed to be coined after. It's supposed to be alleged slave owners, and I have to say alleged because even though they are presenting some claims that will suggest that these families are slave owners. Now, mind you, the Murchison family, I think, is still around to this day. I never even knew the street was named after Murchison family, but I'm sure they have descendants who are still very alive today, who can go back into their genealogy. But I don't think if the question of if they own slaves come up, that they want to cop up to that. Hence why we ain't heard of the current people of the Murchison family. Because in this day and age where we talking about ADOS and reparations, uh I don't think they want to talk about white people who might have immediate ownership of ancestors to slaves as late as 1860s. So, but what is a documented fact is three of the Murchison family members did serve in the Civil War, and they served on behalf of the Confederacy. I mean, that's not too far of a stretch. We in the rural South of North Carolina. That ain't that much of a stretch. But to imply that one is a slave owner is something totally different in itself because what is not known is not all white people were slave owners. Only 5% of white people actually owned slaves. The other parts were either racist or up in the north, and they were abolitionists or just indifferent of the situation. They neither cared nor condemned black people. Now, they did say Murchison family were quite wealthy, but even then, for them to own slaves is still up in the air. And I'm trying to figure out, even though we were not considered human beings to these individuals, we still had documentation. We didn't have documentation such as birth certificates and social security cards and stuff, but treated as cattle and livestock that can be insured. I'm sure that if this family owns slaves, there could be some form of paper trail, as far as if they got a cash buyout from insurance companies. Companies such as Aetna, which are still around to this day, and Wells Fargo, they were most commonly known to insure slaves and their slave owners, and even rented and used slaves themselves. That's more so the conversation that black people on Murchison Road should be having. But instead, we're talking about, a name change from a street based off of speculation that has not been proven to be a fact. In this day and age of Me Too, we are automatically changing the narrative of our democracy, and everybody's now presumed guilty until proven innocent. And especially as an area of black people, you would think we would be more careful of that right there, considering that when it comes to those types of situations, we are proven to be more innocent. But that's a whole nother story. To stick on the subject of Murchison Road name change. In short, I'm not here for it, and I might be biased as a person who grew up here and always, recognize it as Murchison Road and can't see it as nothing different. I don't see any reason to change it. Now they're saying that, oh, it will bring businesses here and they're focused on expanding. I'm like, okay, you're already doing that now as the name is Murchison Road. We got the baseball. And matter of fact, y'all see my vlog. When I do my vlogs when I'm downtown, y'all just see me walk through downtown Fayetteville, and they're building up the baseball field with Murchison Road being up the street. That didn't stop nothing. That didn't stop anything. We had the first lady come here, and I got pictures of that because I was there that day, back in the summer of 2011 when First Lady Michelle Obama came down Murchison Road and made that turn onto Langdon Drive past Seabrook Park and came to build up the Jubilee House. Now, I wasn't here for what happened afterwards with Miss Thane that just disrespected all of us and darn gonna disrespect the First Lady and darn gonna our veterans. So we ain't even going to get into the Miss Jubilee scandal, but still, our gracious First Lady, one of the best First Ladies in modern day history, came through here, and there wasn't no negative connotation. And then every election cycle, we have the Clinton, Bill Clinton came through here, 2016. Secretary of State / former First Lady, Hillary Clinton has came down through here as well. I also think she's also went to Fayetteville Tech as well, if memory serves me right, back during the 2016 election campaign. So why do we feel the need to change it? And I'm looking at several articles, and then I don't like the wording of it, talking about it needs to be changed because when you think of it, you think of one ethnic group. What does that supposed to mean? Because wording is everything. I did not like that wording, and I'm going to leave the articles down below. I don't know which one of these three. I think it was the Fayetteville Observer that said when you think of Murchison Road, you think of one ethnic group, and they want to change it to University Boulevard. But the way they phrased it, they made it seem like thinking of that one particular ethnic group, which is black people, black Americans, is somehow bad, and that you need to change it to make it seem like it's more all lives matter, more all inclusive. So the street can only be good if it seems more gentrified. You're saying that a dominantly exclusive black area can't change and have a positive connotation, for you to phrase it like, oh, you just think of one ethnic group, not that you think of one type of group. Now, I wouldn't have minded if they say, okay, when you think of Murchison Road, you do think of, some drug dealing, you think of some prostitution and all of that. I could have seen that if they would have phrased it like that. But when you said one ethnic group, you just generalized all of us under that umbrella. So I was not here for that. That really irritated me when I seen that article saying, oh, you think of one ethnic group, that's why it need to be changed. And then coincidentally, we're changing it because of Fayetteville State University, who coincidentally have a large tie of having the largest stocks as far as on Murchison Road, as far as the largest building on Murchison Road. I think that's really a conflict of interest. Now, I do recognize the history of Fayetteville State University as our second, I think it's the second oldest state-funded college institution in the entire state of North Carolina. It's also one of the largest historically black colleges in North Carolina and funds the most and have, the most black employees there. I recognize that rich history. However, I don't think you need to extend it to changing Murchison Road based off of a speculation that has not been proven to be a fact. In a day and age where, people are changing democracy and it is now a presumption of guilty before innocence just because a family who had 3 people fight in the Confederacy, I don't think that necessarily warrants you going as far as to say that they were slave owners, because it's like, number one, if you're going to make such an accusation, there needs to be, and I'm not caping for the Murchison family by any means, but I'm just saying, just to keep it, you know, how can I say, to keep it neutral, you need to have facts regardless if you're going to defame anybody's character. And it's like, just because I might have a family member who might be a serial killer, and I might have two more family members that might be serial killers, does that make the entire family serial killers? So I wouldn't be quick to darn gonna generalize the whole family based off of three people fighting in the Confederacy, which was common in the South. We're in North Carolina. I wouldn't expect anybody to have been fighting necessarily for the Union in North Carolina. Too tough during those times. But we're going to say the descendants of them today are like I say, it's very complex when you think of it that way. But the fact that they don't even have evidence that this family has owned slaves, when, like I said, even though we did not have birth certificates and we didn't have, um, traditional forms of identification, we were treated as form of livestock and cattle. How atrocious that sounds is the sad truth. Um, if we're talking about altering history, that should be one of the things that's talked about that's omitted. So instead of trying to change the name up, I think the only thing you should change is change what you're currently doing as far as keep adding businesses on it. Because building up the neighborhoods don't come from a simple name change. You can change the darn name to Winnie Pooh Boulevard. If you're going to still leave it in the same impoverished state, it's going to be the same regardless. Change happens with actually getting in the neighborhood and changing the buildings up and helping fund black-owned businesses and darn building them up and darn cleaning up the negativity around the neighborhood. That's how you do that, and you don't need a name change. So am I for changing Murchison Road? No, I'm not. Have I seen enough evidence to suggest that it warrants a name change? No. Just because the family was a wealthy family that had three documented people that were, fighting in the Confederacy, does that warrant the name change? No. And I feel if you're going to change the name, why not change it to what the majority of the people recognize it as anyway, and just change it to Murchison Road with a K, Murkason, if you was going to change it. So if it was really about the majority of the people who actually inhabit Murchison Road instead of one group of people at a university, because I'm trying to figure out how do a university speaks up on behalf of the Native people, because the majority of the people who go to Fayetteville State University, ironically, are not Native citizens to Fayetteville, North Carolina. You have, foreign students from other areas outside of Murchison Road that go to Fayetteville State University. So yes, I understand the sentiment of adding on the name due to the second the second state-funded college and one of the most largest black colleges in North Carolina. I understand the sentiment. That's why I'm not trying to outright deny the name change. But however, I feel that the name change is not warranted. It simply is not. Not based off of the evidence that they're trying to present of speculation of the family owning slaves. But you haven't shown no insurance paperwork from Aetna, Wells Fargo, or any other company that practiced in insuring slaves back during those time frames. Not one genealogy test. Y'all couldn't y'all was looking into the family's history all the way back in the 1800s. You couldn't have dig a little bit deeper to find one tangible proof first to warrant changing the name, because it goes beyond just changing the name as far as sentimental value. You got to think about expenses. When you have companies, whether they're independent such as mine, or if they're an actual brick and mortar storefront, now it's easy for me to change my name up of my business. But if you actually have a storefront, it's a lot more harder to darn change up paperwork and stuff to update your stuff in the phone books for anybody who's using phone books nowadays. But even the GPS, you got to update that, and that takes months to register into the system. Street names got to be updated. People got to manually go in and update the stop signs and take up all the stop signs that have the Murchison Road name on it. All that costs money. We ain't even got into the funding of Who's flipping the bill for this? So we talking about changing the name based off of a speculation with no darn on preponderance of evidence. But I have yet to hear what we're going to do about state IDs, driver's license for people who live directly on Murchison Road, who would now need a updated driver's license or state ID, businesses expense, the confusion in the GPS system with Uber Eats and DoorDash and all these other opportunities, even Uber. Even if you catch Uber to work, that's going to pose a problem if you live on Murchison Road. Because like I said, you just don't change a name overnight. It takes time to update that GPS system. So now it's going to be a period of confusion where people still have Murchison Road in, but you have the name University Way, and somebody who just signed up for a Uber and they're not familiar with the area and they're just going to University Way, because not everybody who drives Uber is within the facility of Murchison Road as far as knowing it. So if they just coming this way from the first time to pick you up and you still have it as Murchison Road, because if you change it to University Way, but in the system in GPS is still recognizing as Murchison Road, I can see the confusion in there. That's going to throw a lot of people off. And all for what? All over a speculation. Granted that is a very serious, speculation, and it is to be taken seriously, but I feel it doesn't warrant it. Especially since a lot of people didn't even know that the Murchison Road was even named after a family, let alone slave owners. We have since twisted the name to being something different entirely of Murchison. Like I said, if we're going to talk about even changing the name, I will entertain changing it to Murchison Road, with what most natives pronounce it as anyway, as opposed to, University Boulevard. If we're going to think about it as far as the sentimental for the people. But anybody who's also a native to Fayetteville, I'd love to know y'all thoughts on this. What are y'all thoughts on changing it to darn on University Boulevard? Like I said, I understand it, the connection to the university. I'm still just not here for it. Like I said, not off of a speculation. I'd rather just keep it, Murchison, and keep pronouncing it as Murchison if you ain't going to present no evidence. And then here's another thing. If the strongest connection that you can find is 3 of the family members being connected to the darn Confederacy as far as the Army, how mighty ironic that we ain't having a conversation of changing darn Fort Bragg and the Air Force Base, and that darn thing is named directly after a Pacific Confederate darn soldier. I think it's actually named after a general, Fort Lee Bradley. So it's like you can keep that, and I think that's more detrimental than anything, because that's not named after a family. Because like I said, if I have 3 killers in my family, that does not represent my whole family as killers. So Murchison Road represents the name of the Murchison family, but you can't necessarily prove that the whole family benefited off of slaves until you present me some actual tangible evidence. You're only presenting 3 members of that family who were part of the Confederacy, but you actually have a whole army base that's named after a Pacific person who actually fought in the member of the Confederacy. And when we're talking about an army base that's supposed to represent you as an army personnel, you supposed to represent the interests of all American people, black, brown, all cultures, sexualities, no matter what have you, whether you're trans, gay, bi, Christian, atheist, black, white, Native American. You supposed to represent everybody. So I think it's more of a contradiction to have a darn Air Force base that's supposed to be representing modern day democracy in the United States of America, but you have it named after a Pacific person who was not for that. So I think there's more darn of a conflict than Murchison Road named after a family who you cannot prove owned slaves. But we not having a conversation of changing Fort Bragg that's directly named after a Pacific Confederate person who was not for black people being equal. So instead of tomorrow me walking into Saint Missionary Baptist Church, hopefully I have this uploaded before then. Y'all, if y'all are natives there, y'all will see me there tomorrow night. We having a meeting about this name change on March 26th, 2019, and I think it's going to be in the Saint Sinai. Ooh, don't get me the line, but I think it's. Let me pull up the document real quick. Because y'all know we have over 20 some churches on Murchison Road, so that's why I'm stuttering over the name. And that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day on why Murchison Road is really as impoverished as it seems. It does have a connection with all these churches on Murchison Road. Yeah, you would think with as many churches that we have, we wouldn't be going through what we're going through. But sadly, we are. Okay. Y'all give me a moment, y'all. I'm actually pulling up one of the paper documents to see where it's meeting at tomorrow. Okay, Mount Sinai Missionary Baptist Church, located on 1217 Murchison Road, and it will be from 6 o'clock to 7:30 at night. So once again, that is Mount Sinai Missionary Baptist Church, 1217 Murchison Road, from 6 to 7 at night. I'm trying to figure out where is that. Is that up Murchison Road or down? Because Suburban is 2100. I'm thinking that's further up Murchison. That's past like where the old Family Dollar is at, where the old Walmart is currently at. Then we got the Family Dollar on the right hand side. So I'm assuming it's up near that way. Mount Sinai Church on Murchison Road. Or it might be downtown. I don't know. I don't know which direction ours go because, like I said, I'm closer to 2100. But anyways, that's what the GPS is for, y'all. I know y'all saying, well, how the hell you a native of darn on Fayetteville, North Carolina, and don't know which direction it is? Y'all know I never paid attention to the directions like that. It's just like we naturally know where stuff is at. Except for a church, because y'all know I don't mess with them darn on churches, son. Once you become woke, you know about how the churches actually keeps these neighborhoods in the impoverished situations, and that's what should be discussed. But a lot of people that I'm going to see tomorrow ain't going to be up for that conversation, so we're just going to leave it up at that on why Murchison Road is really in the state that it's in, if we really want to go there. But anyways, y'all give me y'all thoughts on this situation. Like I said, I don't think it warrants the name change at all. I think it should stay as is until further evidence is shown. Now, if they actually show that there is undeniable proof that this family did own slaves, then we will darn on entertain the notion of changing the name. And even then, I think it should be still changed to Murchison Road with a K, because that represents something totally different than Murchison with the CH. Almost like how black people justify nigga and change it with the ER and change it to the A. But that's slightly a bad example because I don't agree with that terminology at all. But you can think of it somewhat like that, but not really, because the name Murchison does not have no undeniable proof to slave owners, so you can't really say it has a negative connotation from that point. Now, it does have a negative connotation from the the neighborhood used to be about that life. Like I said, you had to be very bold to come down Murchison Road, especially if you was fair complected. If you was white, you had to tread lightly coming down Murchison Road. Now it's gentrified. But now they trying to gentrify it all the way up with the name, trying to make it seem like because a certain group of people here, that is inherently bad. Now, I'm not with that darn old terminology at all. Not at all, honey. But once again, y'all leave me y'all thoughts on that. Last and darn on news. The shooting in Charlotte, North Carolina. I actually haven't had time to research that. At first, I thought they was reporting somebody came in with a gun. Because I heard two different stories this morning since I heard. First, it was the person came in with a gun, was beating the darn on clerk up. They left the store. The police got to him and shot him. Now I'm hearing something totally different as the news is coming out from the bystanders. The bystanders saying that the person who had the person who came in that attacked didn't have a gun, but was attacking the person who had the gun. So it was two separate people. So the person who originally came in and was getting antsy with the clerk at the Burger King, or the cashier, the bystander was the one that jumped in, drove the other person off, and in the midst of the confusion with the 911 calls, by the time the police got there, they thought he was the assaulter. And then the third account was the bystander was the one with the gun, but he was doggone using it in defense of the woman who was being attacked, and he drove the assailant off. And by the time the cops got there, they had naturally assumed that he was the perpetrator. But all three accounts ended with him being shot dead. And of course, this is in Charlotte, North Carolina. So here we got another case of doggone police shooting of a black man. Now they saying the person was unarmed. So I guess it's more so the person who was the original assailant was the one that had the gun, and the bystander jumped in and was mistaken for the person who had the gun and was shot down. They said he made it to his car. The officers quickly told him to put his hands up, and you know how it is with black folks. We don't get but 2 seconds and then we get shot down, but you can somehow arrest a darn on terrorist who killed darn on 10, 20 people alive. And that's what irritates black people. It's like we can't even get time to put our hands up when you clearly don't see a weapon. Anytime that black people's anywhere, whether we running with our backs turned, with the Antoine situation, whether we selling cigarettes on the corner, Eric Gardner, whether we're 17 years old and we got a pack of Skittles, Trayvon Martin, and the list goes on and on. And now is a bystander who actually jumped in to the defense of somebody. So it's like, damn if we do, damn if we don't. Because it's like we seen the situation with the darn on last Burger King where the black co-worker got nailed up by the white man. And the question was, where was black men at to defend the black woman? Now you had a black man that in North Carolina defend a black, I think the cashier was a black woman, and they end up with his life darn on taken. So now you either presume to be a coward, or you presume to darn on be a dead darn on bystander who was defending the woman's darn on, defending a woman cashier. So it is just bad all the way around. But I'm going to wait till more information come out about that. Like I said, I haven't researched into that at all, except from seeing what was on News 14. This Murchison Road name change is what got me held up most of the day. And then y'all know I got some stuff going on in my personal life, and I got some other reviews and stuff coming out from my beauty channel. So haven't had time to look at it. But yeah, that's what's been going on. So yeah, all the way around. Awkward situation. Like I said, Fayetteville's finest should be the best example of police, because it's like if all officers was more on code with like what Fayetteville City Police Department is like, we wouldn't be having these stories. We wouldn't have the Trayvon Martins, the Eric Gardners, and all that, because I tell you, with the shit that goes down here at times, that warrants a darn on ass kicking, and these officers maintain the decorum that they do. These are the ones that should be darn on doing the mandatory training for officers nationwide. And when y'all think of this situation, because this is going to probably become nationwide news with the Charlotte thing, I don't want y'all generalizing this as all of North Carolina, because Charlotte represents a whole area within itself. It's the largest city in North Carolina. The people are totally unconnected with, the standard representation of Carolina, because I don't even think Charlotte even have an accent. When I think of Charlotte, hell, Charlotte is 6 times the size of Atlanta, Georgia. So it's like that whole area is totally unrelated to areas like Fayetteville and Lumberton, where you actually have the natives here that actually have a accent such as me. When you go to Charlotte, you just think of city. You think of city towers and all that. You don't think of humble grasslands and farms and all of that. You don't think of that when you think of Charlotte, North Carolina. But yeah, that's my thoughts on those two situations. I will be at the Mount Sinai Church on 1217 Murchison Road tomorrow afternoon, 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. I just don't know if I'm going to drive myself there or I'm going to have somebody to take me there. I'm more likely a carpool with somebody, but I will be there to voice my opinion nonetheless. And as like I said, as far as this up team shooting with an unarmed black person, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. I'll tell y'all my thoughts on what we need to do to change that in another video. But right now, I'm actually about to go watch some Ratchet TV. Love and Hip Hop Miami does come on. Oh, wait a minute. The premiere of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta comes on first, and then Love and Hip Hop Miami. I know y'all said, why you done spoke on the name change history of Murchison Road. Oh, also, this ain't the first time they tried to change Murchison Road. They tried to do it back in the 90s and it didn't go through. Now we're going back through this again for whatever reason. But anyways, I'll update y'all after the meeting tomorrow to see the update on that. But anyways, I know y'all saying we done went from talking about Murchison Road, aka the Murchison family, the Murchison Road, to Charlotte, North Carolina with this shooting, and now we darn on ended it out with darn on Ratchet TV. Yeah, that's how we get down over here. But anyways, leave y'all tips, thoughts, comments, suggestions down below, especially on this Murchison Road name change. Also, anybody in Charlotte, y'all have some more thoughts on the shooting situation, since I'm not up to date on it, definitely leave that down below as well. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see y'all soon with more videos. Like I said, subscribe. I will give an update on the Murchison Road name change in the next upcoming days.